G'day guys, and welcome to Ian's wonderful world of Gardens for Wildlife. I've been putting this video off for quite a long time. The reason being is that there's been a lot of storms, a lot of trees down, a lot of different things happening around my garden that put a lot of anxiety and stress onto me, and I just couldn't cope with it very well. Now look, that happened about a year ago. I want to take you through my garden, show you how my garden is going, show you what occurred, what damage has been done. We'll see where it takes us. First up, this lovely sign here arrived on the roadside almost a year ago. And it says, fuel reduction works notice to residents. Basically it's stating that there were fuel reduction works going on through here and they were going to cut down some trees and foliage and all that type of thing. Contact the Yarra Ranges Bushlands Team Council if there anything you want to speak about. So I did contact them because I know what they do up and down through these areas. They just take trees down willy-nilly and really can do a lot of damage to your garden. So I phoned up, there was no one for me to talk to. I left a message and no one got back to me. 3 weeks later, I came home and they'd gone to town in the top end of my garden next to the creek. We'll go and have a look at that now. Here's part of a tree that came down. That is a cedar off the property. That came down in, look, I think it was around March from further up here. Well, you can see where it's come down. Part of a log still roadside. Actually, no, that's a different one. This is where it came from here. Fabulous council came and chopped it right back to the base of the trunk and removed it from the road. This one up here is another one that came down, another cedar, and that has come from here. I'm not too worried about those cedars, they're horrible things, but look, the ringtails do use them for nesting. They build drays in there. Here's another one that's come down. See that there? That's probably 6-7 meters. That's one I planted. Here's another beauty that's come down. Slowly starting to die off. I chopped this back off the road. But that tree there, that was good. I reckon it would have gone 12 meters almost. Native to this area. They're still growing. So, bit of luck, it'll continue to grow. So up here is where all the trees were taken down by the council contractors. As you can see, the road turns around here and goes up. Now, they've done that because of line of visibility. Absolutely crazy when you live in a forest. But anyway, look, basically they were unsupervised and unskilled contractors. They didn't know a native from a weed. We had approximately 13 maturing trees to 8 meters high that were removed, and a lot of ground level type of trees like the elderberry. So it made up about a group of 20 trees. Now since then, a lot of weeds occurred and I've been managing that, but there has been some regrowth. As you can see here, a lot of the elderberry are reappearing. All these poles through here were poisoned. They died right off. Here's one, 2, 3. You can see I've got a kangaroo apple there coming up. 4. It's already mossed over, but it is reshooting. There was a massive Victorian Christmas bush just here. Somewhere. That was 5. Look, there's like 13 of them, like I said. They're all grown over now. But I wanted to show you this one here. This is the creek running through my property. Right there. Look at that. Look at that for a stump. So they removed the tree within a metre of the creek line. Absolutely crazy. You really do wonder what these people were thinking. Had another tree come down. That was a dead log of an old blackwood. That can stay there. What will happen with this, it'll start to rot down and the echidnas will come through and start eating all the ants and things that are in it. So look, I am going to replant through here. Council were very apologetic. It's just one of those things. You get people in here who aren't skilled and trained people, and they just weren't from this area and they don't know what's acceptable. Council did provide me with 50 plants straight away. They were immediately here within half an hour of my phone call. They were here, and I've got another 100 trees booked that are going to go in here and also up in the reserve. Oh, when they did cut down the trees, you're not going to believe it, they backed the truck up, they threw it all into the mulcher, threw it all the way in, directly into the creek across the other side of the road, killing all the native vegetation, or I should say smothering all the native vegetation that was cleaned up. Thank goodness. Funny thing was, after I read that sign down there, I went through and I cleared all the trees back from the road along my property, just to make sure they weren't going to hack anything away, because I know what they're like. They got all this road clearance and all this other rubbish stuff. Well, let me tell you, if you go 100 metres up that way, you can barely drive up that road now because of the overgrowth from the other properties. But mine, nice and clear. Then we had a storm. This maple here came down. You can see where it's broken right there. It hit this one, took that down, then travelled across my driveway. I'll put up some pictures, and absolutely stripped this birch tree. Now, the tree hugger I am, I'll leave whatever I can in the garden. That's a massive limb. And that's starting to rot down. They fell down through here, across my driveway. There it is there. Took out this tree fern. Now, I estimated that tree fern to be about 50 to 60 years old. It was a good 5 metres. It also, if you can't tell, absolutely wiped all these mother shield ferns out. They are starting to come back, thank goodness. But you can see how clear it is through here. Absolutely wiped them. And I also lost quite a few trees through this part of my garden. It was never this open. I certainly wasn't getting this much sun. There's one right there. Stump of one of the bigger trees. So here's one of these cedars that actually fell and took up all the soil in the ground around it. Council did come and chop it back, and it did drop down back into its hole a little bit, but that's a good 1 metre deep down in through there. Good to see my plants are still going, but it did kill off this one here, this tree here. That was a banyella, beautiful tree. Bees loved it. About 2 months ago, I lost this tree. See laid here. That's a good 6 metre cinnamon wattle. Gone. Another banyella here, turned up its heels. Has died in the last year. I need to take that down. Generally, I like to leave dead trees because dead trees are good for the environment. They attract insects, they attract the birds. But that one being right next to my house and also my pathway, I'm going to knock that down. And I'll recycle it. I'll put it through the garden. Now, we had an awful storm. I'll put up some pictures. All the gravel and everything washed across the road here and down into my property. Made an awful mess. Took out quite a few ground cover plants. But this was funny enough about 4 weeks after I'd contacted council to clean that drain out. It was an extremely upsetting time for me. Look, they came out, they inspected it. It blocked the drain across here. Stormwater drain here that runs down through the reserve was up another foot. I've since dug that out because council just, look, they didn't even come and do it. So I took it upon myself. I didn't want my house flooding again. I took care of it. They did pump the drain after many, many requests. Thanks to the Bushlands team, by the way, because the infrastructure team didn't bother to even do that. So good on the Bushlands team. They're pretty good, those bunch. A lot of the Dusty Miller, they're died. I think it's just too sunny here for them. Now, I grew these from cuttings, so they need to be replaced with something a little bit more suitable. Because further down where I planted them, they're going great. Hey, look, my Cassinia's all starting to flower. There's a snowy daisy, absolutely beautiful. Gardenia ovata is in flower. Okay, so this was a real anxious time for me. I went away for a bit of a holiday just prior to Christmas. My new neighbour decided to do some works on the boundary of the reserve. Does everyone remember when this tree was knocked back? This large pine was knocked back and they crushed all the plants and that I grew in through here. Well, I re-established it, put more plants in and that sort of thing. And look what happens. The neighbour comes through, puts a wall in. It's all bare. Well, I've mulched it since, but there's absolutely no plant there. Now, that was all planted up nice and green, but they decided it was a good idea to get rid of them while they were there and plant 2 environmental weeds. Shake your head. You got to be kidding me. Anyway, those environmental weeds are now gone. But I'm still left with the mess to clean up, and I will replant this area very soon. And the neighbour decided to actually extend her property into the reserve and just let all the weeds grow. What a champion. See, it's the stormwater drain at the moment. It's looking nice and lush. There are a few weeds in there. Some of the stuff that's really difficult to get rid of, such as the trad. This is a great little spot in the reserve. Majority of these plants I've put in. You see this trail? That's a wildlife trail. So wombats and deer are using that, and no doubt the odd fox. But look how worn it is. Makes it easier for me to transit through here. So you can see my stormwater drain here. It's done what I wanted it to. Although the pit was not cleaned, all the gravel ended up down in here. But in saying all that, look, it's not ideal to have all this gravel in a reserve washed down. But the way I've planted it out, with the barriers I've put in, the plants I've put in, it's slowed all that down, and it's actually captured all that gravel, so it's not washing further down into the local creek. Good job, Ian. So here we are. This branch has come down, well, still hanging there. This branch here has come down, still hanging there. That's a doozy, that one. This branch has come down. And there's another one thrown to the side. So look, a lot of devastation in my garden. We'll now head up to the bee and butterfly garden. I'd like to show you what's going on in there. So I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, what's going on in my bee and butterfly garden? Well, I can say over the past year, I've lost probably at least 30% of these plants. And the reason for that I'm putting it down to is, one, the trees or the plants that I've put in are not specific for this exact area. They're from areas just slightly out from here, and they've found it difficult. The other thing is, it was really hard to get a lot of these plants from the indigenous nurseries. They just don't propagate them. So I was forced to purchase plants that were immature, that just didn't have grown on enough to be planted, but I'll put them in the ground. But I will be putting more in. It's great to see I've got these primelias here, the rice flowers. They're starting to flower up. And so are some of these guys. So, although I'm somewhat disappointed, I'm not overly surprised at what's happened here. This is going to get another mulch up in the next month or two, and I'll plant a lot more through here. I want to show you one last thing, and that's the tree fern that I relocated a couple of years ago. It's been a very popular vlog, my tree fern vlog. So let's go and have a look at that sucker and see how it's going. Look what I've just found. All these orchids coming up. I don't think I had any last year. Look at all these. These are either the cinnamon bell orchid or potato orchid. I can't remember which one. But they grow to about 1 to 1.5 metres high, single stem, and they grow on rotting timber. So that's why it's so important to put a lot of your logs, your branches and all that sort of thing down in your garden to allow these other plants that don't normally get a chance to come up. I think we'll revisit these guys and see how they go. They are in the middle of my pathway. So the tree fern I removed and relocated is this guy here 2 years ago. Look how well it's doing. So that is your soft tree fern. And if you remember on, This is where it came from, this little stump here. That was the trunk of it. With the plants that I actually planted into it still going strong. This was a multi-trunked tree fern, and there it is there. Going really well, right in next to the stream. So very happy about that. I chopped it off about 1 metre from the top, and in she went, and now it's grown. Look at the root zone of that thing that's come over. Man, oh man. Looks, thanks for joining me in my garden. Like I said, it's been a very stressful time, particularly earlier last December through February, March. But I've bounced back. I've had a lot of things on over the last 6 months, renovating a house and that sort of thing. But I'm now completed that task and I'm back into my garden and ready to give it a real hot crack this spring. If you've enjoyed it, please give it the thumbs up and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao.